Okay, Miss Iman, I'd
Yes.
like to ask you just a few questions regarding your role as a teacher, and specifically maybe in regards to teaching an additional language.
All right.
So, can you tell me a little bit about your role?
Okay. I'm a grade 4 teacher, classroom teacher, and I have the SEMA. I am their third language teacher, and this is
Okay, so what do you mean by SEM?
SEMA is the French grade 4 on the French side, okay, in
Okay.
the French section.
So basically, you teach, you're a classroom teacher for grade 4, but at
Yep.
the same time, you also have this other role. How often do you see the class, the French-speaking
I
class?
see them twice a week, and that's 2 periods overall. That's 2 periods per week.
Okay. And your background in terms of language, do you speak French? Do you speak...
Well, I'm French educated, so, and this is a plus because when I'm with my third language students, I can show them and highlight the differences, the similarities and differences in two languages. That is starting, let's say, with the date. How in French, in English, it's all capitalized. In French, the month is not, so that's highlighted with the title and those little details about just writing. When it gets to the vocab, again, we make the connection. And when you have connecting to spelling, like with the unit we had, we were doing last week, that was the muscles book we're reading, and for them to write muscle, I told them it's just like in French, muscle. So that's one example, one that I can think of.
And your students, what is their mother tongue?
It's Arabic.
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 But they're studying French as the
Yeah.
main language of instruction, and they take English as a third language.
Yeah.
Okay. What kinds of resources do you use to help you?
With the third language classes, we have 2 books to start with, the pupils book and the practice book. And we have the CD that comes along with them. So we have the listening part where they listen to the story and then they would identify, find the answers. We have a song that goes with each unit, the vocab words, the song, and we have in this book, we have like 6 units overall, but we can simply cover about 4 units a year, because this is not all we do. But so we have the book, we have the back to the resources. I use the Raskets, my account. I upload books on Reading A through Z. We have the CDs with, and this is it.
Okay. And the students have a journal that they write in?
Definitely, they have their notebooks, which is on one side it's blank page, so they can show their understanding in a drawing, and they have the lined side where they would write.
Okay. What about in terms of planning, like the program that you teach? Where does that come from?
Okay, the program. Well, we have the set scope and sequence, which is basically it's the books that we have come in like they're leveled. We have for grade 1 the books for grade 1, 2, 3, and we have the books for grade 4. Now within that book you have the grammar lessons, the vocab that they need to know and to acquire, and definitely along with it the spelling. Now, how we plan on our level meetings, which are held on the grade 4 side, that's in the English level meetings, Andrew, my colleague, and I, we simply decide that with this unit, now we're into unit, let's say 1, which has like 4 lessons. So as we're working with this unit, we have, on the other hand, we have our units of inquiry in grade 4. And we know that the CMO, we're working in parallel, so we know that if we're working on body systems, so I know that the CMO will also be working on body systems, so I would upload books, and here I would use my Raskids account. I use it in different ways. My Raskid account, I have 35 spots. I have 10 spots that are that can be used by the French students. 5 of them are they got this. I registered them, and it's ongoing. It's throughout the year because they're higher achievers, and they can read. They can be promoted automatically from one level to the next. Whereas I have 5 other spots that are used by the other students. Every other week, some kids, those who want to read this book, or they would come to me, and I would simply add them to my list. I have to delete the 5 that I had earlier and add new ones.
Right. So you also, what you teach the students is also part of the unit of inquiry that they're looking at in French.
In French.
And do you make connections with all of the essential elements, or
Well, basically,
or mainly what do you connect with?
it is the now what I can think of, because now we're working on the body systems. We've read about our body systems, so we upload a book, we read it together, they practice. First of all, the way it goes, that lesson, as we're reading, first they practice reading. Secondly, I ask them questions, so I assess their understanding. And then they practice answering questions. And as I'm asking the questions, I tell them they have to be very careful with the verb tense, so they would look if it is in the past tense or the present tense, and then they have to answer in complete sentences. So we start with listening, move on to speaking, move on to writing, and then we can either you do some visible thinking routine. So, and overall in 4 weeks we can cover 1 book, along with the grammar lessons that we need to cover in the book that comes in, that's assigned by the school. Okay.
Do you ever have an opportunity to address concepts? I know that you're talking about language skills here.
Yeah.
What about concepts or attitudes or the learner profile or?
Okay. In How We Express Ourselves, we read the book about Ricardo's dilemma. So there it was the dilemma, the boy that has this dilemma, and then here we address the concepts and perspective and the concepts that we addressed in that unit. And the discussions we had were very interesting. And on the other hand, for example, on the 21st, it was Mother's Day. So those kids, we uploaded, we listened to poems, and I told them I connected to the unit, which is who we are again, and to the senses, and I told them we are going to be inspired by nature, and you're going to write a poem to your mom. And we went outdoors, and they wrote their poems, and they came up with some very interesting.
Okay. What about like the fact that in the classroom, all the students, do you feel that do you need to differentiate, or do you feel that besides, you said in RAS Kids that you might offer the students something more challenging, but do you, since they're basically French is their strength, English is their third language, do you feel that sometimes do you ever face problems in terms of them not knowing enough English for you to be able to do what you want to do with them? For you to be able to look at concepts or to look at, do you ever find, or do you find with your students that you don't have that problem in terms of
basically
struggling with English?
It would be, basically with English, they would be struggling in writing, but in their oral expression and in their and communication, they're just fine. So, and if I have some challenging questions, well, you would have the kids who are higher achievers would simply answer them. But to be honest, in 2 periods, to be able to DI and to plan for DI'd lesson for those 2 periods, that I don't think that would be really possible.
And do you assess your students at all? Do you?
Yes,
do you have? You have.
Yeah. For example, when we get to reading, we listen to the book, And because it's interactive, they're listening and they're reading, and they're listening to the book, and then we read it, and then we read it another time, or the second time we're reading it, I have their names and I assess their reading fluency. When they answer the questions, yes, I expect them and I remind them about capitalization, the period, all writing conventions. So yes, I do assess their work.
Do you play any role in the planning of the unit? I know as a grade 4 teacher, you do have a role in planning the units of inquiry, or in deciding what you're going to be teaching. And I know you use that because you're in both roles. But in terms of a third language teacher, do you have any input in the planning of the unit of inquiry? Does the unit of inquiry ever change or is adapted based on your recommendations as a third language teacher?
Well, what I'm trying to do is, as a third language teacher, I would follow what I planned for grade 4, but I don't change the planning in grade 4 to accommodate the third language. No.
And I wanted to ask you, do you feel that, and do you have any standalone planners that you use that are specifically language planners that you use to guide you, like you have the units of inquiry?
No, but we have our, it's not, we're still working on the grade level expectations. That is, we have adopted those books last year and we're using them. And in those books, you have the vocab, you have the grammar section, you have, I don't think that this is, I don't feel that, okay, I have to finish all these expectations by the end of the year. No, because sometimes you think that, when you come to writing, like they are there and there, you have to invest a lot of time into this. I gave them this lesson, the grammar lesson, but that doesn't mean next week I'm moving on to a new grammar lesson. And no, I want to see the application in writing when we're reading those books, the books in
and on the report card, do you have a place where you can put your comments?
Yes, we do.
And
it's regarding their oral expression, their motivation to work, and their writing.
Okay. Thank you so much for giving me some of your time to share what you're doing. Thank you.